In this lesson, let's go ahead and learn how you can create a management group. You can create a management group by using the portal, PowerShell, or even Azure CLI. What you cannot do is creating a management group using a resource manager template. Yes, that means you cannot use a JSON template to create a management group. I'm currently logged into my Azure portal. When I go ahead and type manage here in this search box, I will see something called as management groups. I'll just click on it, and then you will notice that I already have a management group called as United States Management Group. So it has a name. It also has an identifier with the name United States MG. So the thing to note is that there is a management group ID, something like this. Now, this is a unique identifier that is used to submit commands on the management group. So if there is something that you want to do on PowerShell or using APIs on the management group, then you would use the ID column or the ID field to run those commands. Once you have created a management group, this identifier or the ID is not editable or modifiable after the creation. So it will remain with this name throughout the life cycle of this management group. This is how you identify the management group in your subscription. The next thing is the display name, which is right here. Now, this is the name that is displayed within the Azure portal. A separate display name is an optional field when creating the management group and can be changed at any time. Let's see how you can create a management group using the portal, and then we'll also see how you can do that using CLI or PowerShell. You might have already noticed there's a button here called Add Management Group. You click on it, and then you get a field here which says you can type in the management group ID and also the display name. There's a small warning here that you cannot update a management group ID once it is created. That's what we spoke about a minute ago. Whereas this can be modified later on. What you can also do is create a child management group. So you can select an existing management group and create a management group under it. So if you recall the picture in the previous lesson, in the previous video, you will notice that you can create management group under a management group, and that's what this option lets you do. All right, so now I'll go ahead and create a new management group here, and I will then call it as company name, call, let's say, Cert Global, and then IT. I'll also put the display name, something similar to this. Well, looks like there should not be any space here, so I'll remove the spaces and put the display name just like the way it is and save it at this time. So what I will now have in a minute is a new management group, which is totally separate from the one that I already have because I have not created it under my existing management group. It is separate from the existing management group, and then I can manage everything from right here. So I can have my resource groups inside it. All resources inside it will then be provisioned right here. So let's go ahead and see how you can create a management group using PowerShell. To create a management group or to create any resource using PowerShell, you can either have the PowerShell installed on your computer or use this Cloud Shell that is embedded inside the Azure portal. Click on it. It takes a moment to initialize the Cloud Shell, and if you do not have a storage account mapped to this Cloud Shell, it will take a moment to create it. And if you already have it, it should just then initialize everything that's required for the Cloud Shell, authenticate you to Azure, and then show it up on the screen. Now, as you know, that we can flip between PowerShell and Bash or the CLI method of provisioning using the Bash, but at this time, let's use PowerShell. So I will start typing the command which is new hyphen AZ management group, something like that. Okay, and then I'll type the group name and I'll put this in double quotes and then call this management group as Cert Global Marketing, something like that. Yeah, and you can also give a display name using the display name syntax, right? And then you give the display name in double quotes, something like this, and then type the display name, the Cert Global Marketing, and then hit enter. Let's see what happens. There you go. Looks like the management group is created with the display name that we set up, and there are several other properties that you can see. Now let's go ahead and see if the management group is actually created in the portal. So I'm going to run the PowerShell again and just type, well, I'll clear the screen and then type get hyphen AZ management group and then hit enter. There you go. So I've got two management groups. One is United States MG and there's another one called Third Global IT. So looks like I'm not able to get the management group. So I will hit the refresh button back in the screen, go to my management groups and see if it's available in the UI. All right, so it is available in the UI, but I cannot fetch it with the CLI. So looks like there's some refresh issues going on. Oh, there you go. So looks like it took some time to populate on the screen. So although we created it a minute ago, when we ran the PowerShell command for the first time, we could not get it. But like after a few seconds, we are able to get it. So we got three management groups here. Third Global IT, which we created using UI, and the first one, which is USMG, which is already created, and then the last one, which we created using the shell. Now keep in mind that you can create the management groups using the portal that we just demonstrated. You can also do it using PowerShell and Azure CLI. But if you got a JSON template or somebody running a Terraform template or using resource manager templates, you will not be able to create management groups with such mechanisms. All right, so in the next lesson, let's learn more about Azure subscriptions, what an Azure subscription is, how that will be helpful for your billing purposes, and how you can associate that with your subscription.